The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Friday lunchtime. We're open line till 1. Just a couple of quick pieces of travel news. Police are currently dealing with 2 separate collisions that have occurred at Quarterbridge. The road is currently blocked, so consider an alternative routes to bypass the area. Well, Quarterbridge is the centre of everything, inbound from Peel and Castletown and Oncombe and Douglas, so just be aware of that. 2 separate collisions at Quarterbridge today. And if that weren't enough, normal services on the Douglas Bay Horse Tramway service will be suspended between 1 and 25 to 4 this afternoon to accommodate the cavalcade proceedings. This is the vintage transport. The final departure from Derby Castle to Broadwell will be at 25 to 1. That's Derby Castle to Broadway, 25 to 1. The final departure from Broadway to Derby Castle will be 10 to 1. The first tram from Derby Castle to Broadway following the cavalcade will be at 25 to 4. So just be aware of that. If you get delayed on Douglas Prom this afternoon, you'll know what it is. But those 2 incidents at Quarterbridge will certainly need some watching out for. The closure of Cummal Mooar has come as a surprise to most people. You may have heard overnight that Cummal Mooar, the residential home in Ramsey, will be closing down. Plans for a replacement facility in the north of the Isle of Man have been shelved. Now, since the news, we've heard from residents' families about just how much of an impact this is going to have. Now, Manx Care, this is the, if you like, the governing body of all this. Manx Care says the decision not to go ahead is due to reduced demand for residential care and the need to review long-term the needs of services in the north of the Isle of Man. Now, Vicky Hewison has started an online petition. Vicky's mum is in Cummal Mooar, and yesterday evening she started an online petition for the decision to be reversed. There's over 600 signatures so far. She's been talking to Lewis, and it's all come as a bombshell.
My mum moved in permanently on the 20th of June, and up to that point we were under the impression, and we were being told by the staff there, that there was going to be a new facility built on what was the old Cummal site. It now transpires that there's no money in the kitty and this isn't going to happen. But to make matters worse, that Cummal Mooar itself is going to be decommissioned within the next 2 years. It's absolutely awful. I found out actually on Facebook, and then matters literally yesterday snowballed. I went down to try and manage the situation with my mum, who, has the onset dementia and is not in the best of health. They hadn't been told themselves. Obviously, the staff were aware. They couldn't say anything. They couldn't warn relatives. It was just a diabolical situation to be put in. And then when I was actually there trying to reassure my mum that she wasn't going to be put out on the street, because there's a lot of fear in the residents. These are elderly people. They're not just pieces of paper. These are human beings who have just been handed a letter at about 5:30 last night telling them that, oh yes, within the next 2.5 years, you are going to be basically moved from here, with no clear plan of where they're going to go at this point.
Ultimately, the petition is calling for government to push back and reverse this decision. What would you like to see done to at least give you some clarity about what can happen and assurances over your mother's position in the next couple of years?
The ideal situation right here, right now, is to stop this dead in its tracks. My concern is that the amazing staff that are there, and I really can't emphasise this enough, how fantastic the team is there. A lot of them have been there for 20 odd years, and that speaks volumes of the actual atmosphere and that is created within that building. It needs to be stopped now, so staff don't start panicking. They don't start looking for other jobs. They need to be retained. They need to have surety and clarity that their jobs are still there. And really, the decision just needs to be put on hold. I'm not saying that Cummal Mooar does not need to be closed at some point in the future. It will do. But stop this ludicrous decision to take it away without there being a replacement facility.
Just wonder what your thoughts are on this. If you live in the north of the Isle of Man, if you have a relative or a friend in Cummal Mooar, it's unnerving, it's unsettling to know that there isn't going to be a new one built, so you wonder what's behind all this. We've had many comments in, including there are waiting lists even at private care homes. It's not financially sustainable long term to go private, and it will break the family up if they're being placed in a home away from Ramsey. They question if the demand for Cummal Mooar isn't there because people know it's in a poor state and needs redevelopment. Maybe people are going private until the new build happened and would then look to move, which might explain the slump. And also another comment said this decision will be detrimental to the well-being of families and residents going into care. And final comment is, Laurie Hooper's handled this terribly. It's not the way to treat people. Well, coincidentally, Mr. Hooper's on Mannin Line on Monday, the Minister for the Department of Health and Social Care. And Ramsey MHK, Laurie Hooper, will be on Mannin Line on Monday. So perhaps we'll see what Mr. Hooper has to say about that and exactly where we stand on that. It seems that it goes against conventional opinion, really. It's always been said that we need more and more capacity in the care home field and that we're going to need probably an extra care home per year for the foreseeable future, but not to replace Cummal Mooar is raising eyebrows, to say the least. And if you want more details about that, about the petition. It's an online petition, but also residents and their families have been invited to a meeting at Cummal Mooar on Wednesday, 23rd of August. And if you have any comments on that, by all means do get in touch by text, email, call and WhatsApp. Texting, if you have a Manx Telecom number, isn't working at the moment. Manx Telecom are trying to get around that. Sure numbers work fine on 166 177, but you can still email studio@manxradio.com or call 66 13 68 if you have a Manx Telecom number. Just regarding dentistry, this is a question, says James, I'd like you to put to Mr. Hooper on Monday. I'll just give you a brief outline of this, and we'll get this to Mr. Hooper on Monday. This is regarding dentists. Poor procurement and poor choice of contract providers has taken us to where we are with dentistry on the Isle of Man. Part of this is not historically clawing money back from dentists who have underperformed and thus wasting millions of pounds that could have been put to good use. Even giving NHS dentists huge pay increases when they haven't met their KPI. Is it key performance indicators, I think? Anyway, that's something we'll put to this, and certainly because of the loss of, I think, is it Regent Healthcare have pulled out of Hillside. So the trouble with dentists just seems to go on and on and on. I mentioned Laurie Hooper's on Monday. Also next Thursday, recently departed from the department, Chris Thomas MHK, Central Douglas MHK, Chris Thomas, who up until a couple of weeks ago was Minister at the Department of Infrastructure. So we'll see what Mr. Thomas has to say, and of course you'll be more than welcome to chat to Mr. Thomas about how he sees the future and how we're going with that. I don't know whether you spotted that there's this survey going on at the moment and a report going into the heritage railways on the Isle of Man. And interesting that there was a TV personality on the Isle of Man. Actually, I think he was filming around Groudle Glen. Considering the changes to the Isle of Man's heritage railways, says the Antiques Roadshow's Paul Atterbury he says it's lunacy. He's been visiting the Isle of Man for the Manx Heritage Transport Festival. Now, the consultancy firm Sistra are currently undertaking a review into the Isle of Man's railways, heritage railways, and their economic impact. You may remember Chief Minister talked about this earlier on this week and talking about perhaps a new model, whatever that means, of how our heritage railways are run. But Paul Atterbury from the Antiques Roadshow on television warns against making any cuts to what we have already.
I think it's world class. I mean, this should be World Heritage. It should have that status. It should be the same as the Darjeeling. Simply because find another one like it. Not just in Britain, but anywhere. It just doesn't exist to the same scale with this wonderful diversity of vehicle. Horse-drawn to electric to steam, that combination just isn't there anywhere else. And to think about fiddling about with it for political reasons is complete lunacy. I know it's been done before. It goes through this cycle quite regularly, and once it comes near to an election, everybody loves the railway. But when an election is far away, they start fiddling and thinking about it. And you can see that if you start trimming off branches, you're killing the plant, ultimately. You're killing the tree. It's been, for years and years and years, it's been a significant revenue earner for the island. It's not just now when you're in the middle of the celebrations, but so many people come here just for this experience. And to disregard that, I mean, if you measure it all in comparable railway parlance about passenger numbers and all that, I mean, the numbers are very high as far as I can see, but you can't apply the normal economics to running a railway. It is a social asset, but it's one of the most important things about this island. And I'm not speaking as a railway lover. I'm speaking as somebody who comes here and finds an extraordinary thing spread out before them. And I've been very lucky the last couple of days. We've been pretty well everywhere, and so I've seen the diversity of it. I've seen packed carriages of people having a great time, and not just railway enthusiasts. Plenty of families, with their dogs and their children and all that, just having a great time seeing what the island offers, and therefore to think of it as some sort of rather quirky anorak bit of entertainment for a few, it's just crazy. I mean, don't start me on politicians, basically.
There he was from the Antiques Roadshow talking about what the Isle of Man has. And it is, if you want to go to that empirical thought, that empirical question, find another place in the world, find anywhere in the entire globe that has what we have on the Isle of Man. Now, put aside the fact that you may or may not like railways, or you may or may not like the people who like railways, just put that to one side. Nowhere in the world has a mountain railway like us, a steam railway like us, electric railway to Ramsey, Victorian. Get that? This is not just a Disney thing that's just been built. It has history built into it. We also have the quirky little things like Groudle Glen, the one that runs uphill to the sea. But we also have the Wildlife Railway. We also have the Laxey Mines Railway. And we have railway heritage, even going down to the remnants of the Peel railway station. For about 3 or 4 yards, there's remnants of the Peel line. Nowhere else in the world has what we have. So the government is going through this process of consulting about what to do with our heritage railways. Do they cost money? Of course they cost money. All heritage costs money. Manx National Heritage Sites cost money. But I suppose it's the difference of knowing the cost of something and the value of something. We are in difficult times, and somebody somewhere will have to make that decision. Could you put this question to the Chief Minister? Sorry we didn't have time, Kelly, but I'll pose it now anyway. It's about the box junctions at Laxey. The box junctions in Laxey are in a terrible state, and so are many of the signs that highlight that there's a tram passing close by. And there may be trouble out of that. Kelly also sent some pictures about this, and she said, we have a huge amount of visitors for the centenary of the trains and the trams. I'm a regular user of these services. There's a lot of bunting, which is great, but the warning sign for the busiest tram crossing on the Isle of Man is not really fit for purpose. In fact, it's difficult to spot it. And the constabulary updated their Facebook page last week with a video of a car driving into the path of a tram, causing a collision on the same crossing as the second picture I sent you. So, really, if we're going to have it, let's at least get the box junctions, get the road paint done. A note in from Mark, who I think it was Dewan who called earlier on this week, talking about geothermal and the fact that the government doesn't seem to be talking about geothermal. Mark says there are no hot rocks at a depth underneath the Isle of Man to make geothermal work. The base load without coal, oil or gas can only be done with nuclear power. The base load is what you need when we're in the renewable future, when the wind isn't blowing. So the base load without coal, oil or gas can only be done with nuclear power. And nuclear power is safe and produces less radioactivity into the environment than a coal-fired station, says Mark. Thanks, Mark, for that. The only problem is nobody's tested, really. I think nobody's said that they would even test for geothermal. So it's just one of those things. And I keep getting messages in about tidal and wave power. So hopefully we'll be getting an expert, somebody who knows about tidal and wave power, to come on Mannin Line to say whether or not it's something we could do here. I think the one that they put at Strangford Lock in Northern Ireland has now been decommissioned. And tidal power and wave power really haven't taken off. I don't know whether you remember, if your memory goes back that far, but in the 1970s they had nodding ducks on Tomorrow's World showing that how wave power works. And really, in 50 years, we got nowhere with wave power. Nowhere, really, in the world is there a wave power station. Many more comments to come in, including one about... this was on a WhatsApp that came in yesterday, and it was about... We talked about chemtrails yesterday. This is one of the most famous or infamous conspiracy theories that's around. The fact that... when you see the contrails, the condensation trails from high-flying jets, that nefarious chemicals may have been put in to bend our minds as it all shimmers down amongst us. I got a WhatsApp in from 806 who said, if anybody had evidence that mysterious forces were spraying us with population control chemicals, they would have made millions as a whistleblower, and they haven't because the evidence simply doesn't exist. It's top 5 conspiracy nonsense repeated by the same people, says Steve. And also, so there we are with conspiracy theories and chemtrails. Or are we? Anyway, David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Randy. Just 2015, I was still a politician, and I was responsible for social care, which included homes and other facilities round about. And I took the opportunity with the lady who I can't remember who was in charge at the time to go round and have a look at the places. We went to Retna Bay, Glenside, and we went to Cummal Mooar. And when I went to Cummal Mooar to visit and have a little look, and that was about 2015 towards 2016 there were plans, because it's a great place, but the modern facilities that people want when they're in residential care, like enough toilets and baths and bathing quality, do you know what I mean, when people are in wheelchairs and all the time and need to be put into like a shower, which is a shower room.
Yes.
And you just go in and people get showered and have some dignity. Now, I'm quite surprised that this organisation saying we're not going to look at that, because we do, like you said before, honestly, we do need them. Why do you think we're replacing, we pulled down Glenside, and where do you think people are going to go from Retna Bay? Because Retna Bay is a great place, but that's the same thing. you're talking about rooms that people live in. When there's a husband and wife there, one's in one room and one could be down the corridor in another room. It's not good in this day and age, and that's why the new Glenside, and I go past it every day thinking to myself, it won't be long before that's opened and people will be able to go there. And the other issue I'd say to the people, and good luck to that girl that's doing that petition there, if she wants any help, when you and it's going to sound really weird, but somebody in Peel, and you want to be transferred to Douglas and live the rest of your life in comfort, knowing that you're out of your own comfort zone when you used to be in Peel all the time. And the same thing will happen in Ramsey. And there was land available. I think there still is land available where the old school could be to build a place, and to use the excuse that it's going to cost an extra money.
Do you think this is? I mean, Manxcare have said that costs are rising, this, that, and the other. Do you think this is Manxcare playing hard to get and just saying, well, increase the budget and we'll do it?
Yes, I think it is, and they're playing, and it's shameful, really, when you look at it. They're playing on people's lives and parents of people who want a good quality of life in peace towards the end of their life. Now, the same thing has happened at Peel there too. We have the old, I can't remember what it's called now. I'm sure my mate in the main road will come on and tell me where it is. What's happened to that? There was a perfectly good building down there, although it wasn't modernised. Why didn't government just take it over with the help of the trustees there and modernise it? You can do these sort of things, but the one at Ramsey, I feel shameful that Manxcare are doing this, and B, that the government are letting them get away with it, or will be part of it.
Okay, all right. I appreciate that, David.
See you, boy.
Cheers. Bye. Now it's 28 minutes past 12 on Manx Radio. We need to support our farmers by buying Manx-produced food, locally produced food on the Isle of Man. By supporting locally produced food, we get food security. I've spoken to people from England, America and Australia recently, and they say our meat and dairy products are the best they've ever tasted. So we need to do this. Well, that's a good way to start it, is to pop down to the Southern Agricultural Show this weekend and have a chat to producers about it and just how they see the future. We'll certainly be doing that. Crikey, is it going to be 2 weeks today? 2 weeks today is Friday the 11th, and it's the Royal Agricultural Show, and Mannin Line is going to be live there. We've got a panel of contributors. The ministers from DEFRA is going to be there. Claire Barber will be there. We'll be talking about the countryside, so we'll have representatives from the Manx NFU. Hopefully somebody from the meat plant's going to be there. Certainly Bill Dale will be there. Remember, the man who started Beach Buddies, because we're not only talking about farming, it's about the countryside and the fact that the agricultural industry, the farmers, are custodians of the countryside and just how it looks, and Bill will be reporting on the state of the beaches as well. And hopefully we'll see you there. 2 weeks today, Friday the 11th, Mannin Line is live from the Royal Agricultural Show at Knockalo. But the big weekend starts tomorrow in the south with the Kermode Farm. And I drove by there yesterday. It looks fantastic, ready to go. All the no parking cones are there, ready and gleaming.
I found a great photo of Grandad on the Queen's Pier, Ramsey, back in the 50s. If only we could see this historic landmark in its full glory once more. Well, actually, we could see the pier restored, whether through a small donation, regular transfer, or the purchase of an engraved plank or stanchion. You can leave your mark on history. To donate, visit qprt.im or call Graham on 355 104. This audio has been kindly sponsored by Paul Carey and Sons.
Have you ever thought about learning another language, trying out something artistic, or fancied giving guitar lessons a go? Maybe you're looking to develop new skills for your job or career, from creative arts and catering to agriculture and digital literacy. Whether you're looking for a course that's just for fun or want to upskill, University College Isle of Man offers a wide range of adult learning courses to help you meet your goals. Visit ucm.ac.im to find your next course.
Show the garden who's boss with Riley's Garden Centre. Tractors, tools, the latest cordless equipment from the island's dealers for Honda, Stihl, Stiga and Echo, plus Traeger pallet grills to help you enjoy the results. Visit rileys.co.im.
There's a new way to Subway with 2 fantastic menus. Which will you go for? The all-new Subway series with 15 irresistible creations like the Big Bombay Sub, Great Goddess Salad, Emperor Wrap and Big Cheesesteak Sub Melt. Or create your own. You pick the ingredients you want and build your own sub, salad or wrap the way you want it. There's a great mix of healthy and indulgent menu items available from Subway in ShopRite, Peel and Port Erin.
How do you catch up on the latest skeet? Via regulated media such as Manx Radio or Isle of Man newspapers, which have a duty to report in a balanced and fair way, or through internet and social media, which have much less responsibility to offer truth or impartiality? Is this really what lies at the heart of the recent attempt by government to clip the wings of internet publisher Isle of Man TV, or is it a sinister attempt to silence public debate? Perhaps it's both, or neither. If you care about the truth, listen to Perspective Live this Sunday at 12 noon on Manx Radio with me, Phil Gaughan, a programme very much not to be missed.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
That's to my good afternoon. 28 minutes now before 1, and it's just been, we just spotted, by the way, Quarterbridge is now clear. Everything's absolutely fine, so you'll be able to sail through Quarterbridge as long as you negotiate the 2 roundabouts according to the highway code. Regarding the care home in Ramsey, Laurie Hooper's comments on the Ramsey community group say it's misquoted. Is that right? And it hasn't been shelved. They're going to replace it with a different option. So can you ask him on Monday, please? We certainly will. Mr. Hooper says apparently there will be no redundancies at Cummal Mooar. Thanks for that. And everybody trying to get through with a Manx Telecom. We're going to have a flood of messages from Manx Telecom over the weekend. At the moment, Manx Telecom texts aren't getting through to our system at the moment, and Manx Telecom are working very hard with a soldering iron to get it all sorted out. Now, Fred wants to own up to me. Fred just says, regarding what was said on Manx Radio about DNAs, people who didn't attend medical appointments, Fred from Port Erin is coming clean. He said, Andy, I'm one of the culprits about didn't attend. I received a letter stating that I didn't turn up for an appointment at Ramsey Cottage Hospital on the 27th of June. My excuse was I didn't get a letter advising me of the appointment, and I believe a lot of no-shows are due to appointment letters not being sent out, or, if you like, incorrect appointment letters being sent out. So we'll see. Statistics, eh? Nick's on now. Hi, Nick.
Mick. Hello?
Yep, you're live on the air.
It's just about these wind farms and solar farms and such.
Yeah.
Wind farms and solar farms are going to make a lot of money for someone, right? But the problem I've got with that is it's going to make a hell of a scar on God's gem. That's all I've got to say, really.
Yeah, we've had that before, though, haven't we?
What's that?
We've had scars on the landscape before on the Isle of Man.
Elaborate.
Well, there were mines at Foxdale. There were mines in Laxey.
Yeah, but they didn't know any different in them days, did they?
Oh, I see.
Or if they did, they weren't telling us, right? I really don't see why they don't do a test bore for the geothermal.
Well, somebody's going to have to pay for that, presumably. So.
Well, I'll be prepared to put something towards that.
Oh my word! I wouldn't say that. The government would have you paying for it all.
Well, no, I couldn't afford to pay for it all, But
so you think we should give geothermal a try?
I think they should. Yes. Okay.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. These wind farms proposed in the north and the south of the Isle of Man. And, of course, Kiri Jenkins has set up a petition, another online petition, about what will happen where that's concerned. What will power the Isle of Man when the wind doesn't blow or it's too windy? And also with solar panels at night time, says Mark. This is the case of, back to the base load again, what's going to happen below a certain speed. The wind farms, there's not enough energy in it to make the turbine work, and obviously above a certain speed they feather the blades or turn the darn thing off because it will blow it up. So there we are. But we do have a lot of wind on the Isle of Man, let's face it. We do have many days that will power a wind farm. And this was planned back in the 1990s. Wind farms were proposed in the 1990s. So we could have already had 25 years of wind farms. And do you think once the wind farms are up, in Sulby perhaps, or Eristane in the south, that we'd get to like them? Just like Tim Baker, former DOI minister, said we'd get to like the those famous roundels on Douglas Promenade. I just wonder whether you... well, they say we're going to get onshore wind come what may. We do have 12 miles of Manx seabed that they could put offshore wind on as well. So what's stopping it all at the moment? Well, at the moment, the government's stopping it. There's nothing actually happening. Immediately, anyway. I use my van to work. Talking of these petitions about, we've got the one for Cummal Mooar, we've got the one for wind farms, but also the one trying to fight this plan to stop large vehicles parking in residential areas or areas where there's a speed limit. I use my van for work, and I don't have anywhere else to park it except outside my house. Dave the plumber, this is, on 449. Now, I park it outside my house on the road, complete with my work equipment inside. I pay vehicle duty to use my vehicle on the roads, and I don't accept that I shouldn't be able to park it in relative safety outside my home. I wouldn't park it away from my home with the possibility of my livelihood being ruined if my equipment got stolen from it. It's certainly more secure outside my property. Well, it's certainly that the mobile home, the people have certainly been stung into action by this. People with mobile homes, parking them on outside their houses, are certainly getting in touch. That certainly motivated a Facebook group as well. But large vans, if you have a work van that you currently park outside your home, or perhaps put on a drive, I just wonder how you think about that. We did get a note in yesterday saying somebody spotted 3 vans in Onken, and they were all government-owned, parked overnight. Julie's with us now. Hi, Julie.
Hi. Just a quick one about the wind farms.
Yeah.
Why not just make them iconic?
Make them iconic?
Yeah, you've got to have a wind farm, let's be honest. We got enough wind over here that we could do all sorts of things with. Just make them iconic, like the Spinnaker thing down in Portsmouth, Plymouth Way. Put them, I don't know, great, if necessary, put it on the top of Snaith Hill. But just make it iconic. Put it at Windy Corner. Make it iconic. Make it a place where people will go to see it with the family, with the kids, tea rooms, whatever you want to do. Make them iconic. Make them in the windiest spots. And that's it, basically. Make it so it is, you know, like the Angel of the North and things like this. Make them iconic. People will get used to them.
Okay. All right, Julie, thanks for that. I've written that down. I'll put that to the Minister. Thanks for that, Julie. Iconic wind farm. Also got a note in from somebody who said, we'll make them iconic. We'll make them like the 3 legs of man. So not just, you know, normal fins, if you like, on the wind turbine. Make them like the 3 legs of man. I don't know that would work, but it would certainly be iconic, wouldn't it? Thanks for that. So there are so many views coming in regarding mobile homes and motorhomes being parked, and the fact that people are getting fines all over the place. If you've been fined for parking a motorhome, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what your opinion is as to, well, and certainly how much you're getting fined for this. Is it £60 that it is anymore? I was in Lloyd's Pharmacy, Governor's Hill, yesterday. They've got notices saying they'll no longer cash from the 4th of August. No longer use cash. Is that from the 4th of August? Says I don't know whether that's true. 57 vans parked on Douglas Prom last night. Did you count them? This is WhatsApp 223. The Isle of Man is featuring on UK motorhome and camping sites as well as road racing sites. Unfortunately, all negative. It's all to do with the parking ban on motorhomes and vans here. Many who booked for the TT have cancelled bookings, says this WhatsApper. 57 vans parked on Douglas Prom last night. Sea Terminal to Port Jack. A £60 fine on each is a good earner for the government for very little outlay. And regarding large vehicles in Saddlestone, all the houses have a restrictive covenant, so trade vehicles can't be parked outside the estate, so owners park in the nearby school park. Is that true? No problem. All others need to find an alternative. Very simple, says Andy. And when you speak to Laurie Hooper, will you be asking him to rebut what other people have said about government lies relating to happenings during COVID? Send down it. Well, what particular lies are we talking about? Nick said a big shout out to EasyJet and the air traffic controllers for getting a jet to land on the Isle of Man last night. Very good job. Karen said people don't need an ensuite, they need care, and that's what they get in great abundance from the Cummal Mooar staff. Dodsy's on. Hi, Dodsy.
Hello, mate. Yes, excuse me, I'm just in the middle of a delivery as well.
Hang on, Dodsy, you're going to have to put the phone closer to your mouth. We can hear the van, but not you.
Yeah, it's just that I've got an airport in me here. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I just want to say that I take my work down all the time, and I don't get complaints as such, but I do get found out by one or two.
Sorry, Dodsy, your signal's dashing here, there and everywhere.
You look happy.
I am. I'd worried about what could happen to my family if I die or can't work, so I've arranged a protection policy with financial options.
Sounds great, but it's another monthly cost.
Yes, but cover starts from as little as £5 a month, a small price to pay for financial peace of mind.
You're right.
Call Financial Options on 612 611 or check out financialoptions.co.im.
Chase Financial Services Limited, trading as Financial Options, is regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Island Hearing Limited, your local hearing care specialist since 2009, with branches in Port Erin and Ramsey. We provide the very latest hearing aid technology available, which you can try at home, with excellent aftercare and a wax removal service available using microsuction. Give us a ring on 830 722 or visit Island Hearing at 1 Station Road, Port Erin. We're happy to help. Island Hearing, always listening.
Every drop is precious. Water. So easy to take it for granted, isn't it? Our reservoirs supply the needs of our island, but with the effects of climate change, that's becoming more challenging every year. Manx water is the only water we have, so we need to make every drop count by using it wisely, at home, in the garden and in general. Visit manxutilities.im to find out how you can begin smarter living, to lower energy bills and reduce your impact on our island environment.
FC Isle of Man are back for the 2023-24 season, and they're ready to kick off their new NWCFL Premier Division campaign this weekend on Manx Shores. The Ravens take on Wythenshawe Town at the Bowl on Saturday night, hoping to get their latest campaign off to the best possible start against one of last season's big hitters. Join me, Rob Pritchard and Tony Meppen for FC Isle of Man versus Wythenshawe Town this Saturday, kicking off at 6pm. Manx Radio will be providing full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
We found Dodsy. Hi, Dodsy.
Hello again, mate. Yeah, sorry about that. I just want to say that I take my works vehicle home on a regular basis, well, pretty much every day of the week. But I think this is probably something to do with taking these like construction vehicles to work to home and stuff, like flatbeds and the like. I don't think it's to do with particularly white van drivers per se, but if it is, I mean, there's not a lot of white vans or that look out of place anyway.
So where do you think this has come from? Is it big motorhomes? Is it works vans? Is it people with big utility vehicles? What's caused this?
I think it's mostly to do with camper vans, but because transit vans and whatnot are almost similar in size and whatnot, I reckon it's probably a dig. The government's having a dig at us drivers as well. But I'm not entirely sure as to why it's directed at vans and especially SUV drivers, because I mean they're public private vehicles. But yeah, with regards to work vehicles, some people use their work vehicles on a daily basis outside of their work. So what's the problem?
If you couldn't park your work van outside your house, where would you have to put it?
Well, there is a car park in my street that I park it, but it's usually only at the weekends that I leave it there, and then as soon as there's a parking space outside my house, I move it, because they don't see to kindly me having my van up there. But yeah, there's been a few times I've been frowned upon by some of my neighbours by having my van in my street. I mean, I'm not naming the name of the company I work for unless you know who I am, then fair enough. But no, I'm not saying who I work for, but yeah, it's one of those where if you've got a work van and, you know, that's your daily driver and you pay your road taxes, why is it a problem to park outside your own house?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dodgy.
Cheers.
13 minutes to 1 now. Dick says, years and years ago, I was talking about the technology that was being developed in America and Ireland for using the methane from cow muck and rotting food waste. It doesn't matter what it is, it rots, it produces methane. Plus, with all the algae in the sea, methane makes up half of the world's greenhouse gases. And we're trying to use it. There was a meeting at the Cregner Bar a couple of days ago about using methane, obviously harvesting, if you like, putting all the cow muck together, getting the methane out of it. Methane's 100 times more polluting than carbon dioxide. In fact, one cow, says Dick, is worse for the environment than the average car. Well, apart from you can't eat a car, there is that. But for all these years, we could have been investing into an incredible technology. Half of the farms on the Isle of Man could have free electricity by now, but it's been ignored. There's plenty about methane from cows on YouTube, and you see how amazing the opportunity the government has missed, really, for a decade. I'm sure there's more methane in the fields than biothermal energy 10 miles down, and you don't have to go that far for it, says Dick. I was talking to somebody the other day about the problem that they have in Ireland, and apparently Ireland is Europe's biggest methane producer, with all the beef cattle that they have in Ireland, and certainly the dairy stuff as well. And it is true, bovine flatulence is a big contributor to methane emissions throughout the entire globe. So if we can harvest the methane in any way, then presumably we can use it and we can make energy out of it. In response to your recent contributor, says Graham, geothermal energy does work. It's already supplying power to Eden Park in Cornwall, where the geological situation is the same as ours, a shallow granite uplift. Get that? A shallow granite uplift. There are more than 700 plants of geothermal all over the world. The difference, and the only difference, says Graham, is how deep you have to drill. Some places it's close, other places not so close. And in places like Iceland, you don't have to drill very far. So is that something? Will our shallow granite uplift help us, if it's something that we can do you think it's worth a punt on behalf of the government to see whether geothermal could actually work for us in the future? Gary said, Andy, the strategy of closing residential homes and keeping people in their homes will surely impact people waiting for public housing to become available. Also, it's going to cost more money, and take more time having staff travelling to care for people in their homes. Do you think this is, Manx Care have said basically that the cost, and we all know that building materials costs have multiplied and multiplied. So building anything is going to cost a lot more than it used to 10 years ago. So closing Cummal Mooar and building a new one is going to cost more. Manx Care say it's going to be too much and they can't commit to doing it. Well, we'll find out from Laurie Hooper on Monday what the department has to say about it. Tommy's with us now. Hi, Tommy.
Oh, hi, Andy. If you were to walk down the town now to the Manx Museum and other places of history, Andy, what would you likely to see? A windmill.
Where?
In these art museums, in paintings.
Oh, quite right, yes, windmills as opposed to a wind farm, though, or a wind turbine.
Well, exactly, but they had to do to grind the grain, didn't they, Andy, to make a living? You know, so how come we've suddenly lost the technique to do it?
Tommy, you said before we should put wind turbines on Marine Drive.
I did. I still stand by that. Wholeheartedly, Andy. There's very little people go out. If you can go out, you can come in from the Port Sodrick side, and you can enjoy your day out, as I do many times. And if you put 4 or 5 along there, that would probably produce enough energy for the whole island, Andy. That for an idea.
I just wonder where the first one's going to be. Is it going to be in the south or the north, do you think?
The south and north of where, Andy?
The two sites that they're pitching at the moment, down in the south, Erie Staine and the Scards, and in the north is by Sulby. I think it's up above the reservoir at Sulby. Perhaps Sulby is the way. You don't mind windmills, but they don't like large vans, says Des. The world has gone nuts. Is that true? Thank you, Desmond. Good to hear from you. And a message in from, is it Melanie? Oh, no. Oh, there is proof that chemtrails are bad, says this correspondent, 600. There was an ex-pilot that had been flying a big commercial aircraft, apparently. And did he own up? It's not really made the news, has it? But anyway, we'll find out. Certainly not like now when they never stop and go on for miles and miles and stay up for hours, poisoning our airspace. Oh, do you know all about this? 600, please tell me more. Paul Atterbury is the voice of common sense, says John. Heritage is a huge growth industry in tourism in the UK. Beaching's lines closed in the UK and they're being reopened. Well, they're main transport lines, but we get the point. But at some point, and the thread going through all this, the fact that Cummal Mooar may not be replaced, and the fact that we're looking for energy where we are, and the fact that we haven't funded a geothermal test bore, and the fact that they're looking at the heritage railways, it's money. Money is at the bottom of everything where we're concerned. Mr. Cannon said it earlier on this week. We're looking to move the economy forward. That's one of the reasons he wants 1,800 new jobs, 15,000 more people on the Isle of Man. It is economic growth. Now, quite how we're going to square that with a net zero future, well, we don't quite know. The Isle of Man Football Association is trying to avoid an impending crisis around the number of referees available on the Isle of Man. Numbers of officials have dwindled in recent years, and there are concerns that if numbers don't improve, it could have significant repercussions on football. Rob Slinger and Tom Halliwell are referees. So how acute is the situation, boys?
There is a massive concern at the moment because there's between
there's 15 consistent referees. There's some coming and goings. We've lost a few this season. That's another few active referees that have stepped aside, which is going to cause struggles on a Saturday fulfilling fixtures.
It's not just about how many games you have to do in a week. It's about whether the games can be covered. Some of the games on the Saturday, we've got 20 games. We don't always have 20 referees. We could see this season where the clubs start having to put in an auxiliary referee. That there is no referees. So that's where the real problems start.
Why are we not seeing immediately, I guess, more coming forward and taking an interest?
My personal thing is I think people are scared of it. People have spoke to us said, I would do it, but I just can't be bothered with the abuse and things like that. It's made a lot worse. I think when you look across, there's not really the mega issues over here that can't be dealt with the processes of yellow cards, red cards, sin bins, discipline procedures. But there hasn't been much out there. I've noticed this season there's a bit more of a drive on towards referee recruitment, which is good to see for a change, and it'd be good to see some younger officials coming through and starting to pick up the whistle.
If we continue to find ourselves on the Isle of Man in a situation where numbers of officials are a concern, just how much do you think could it impact the whole system of Manx football in the long run?
Massively, because think about how many people play football on a Saturday afternoon or used to play football or involved with football. Think about the media, people who do reporting on it or do the photos or playing. Loads of people are involved with it. We've heard the saying before, no ref, no game, but it literally is true. There's 20 games or however many on a Saturday afternoon. If we don't have 20 refs, then those games aren't going to go ahead at least to the same standard, if not at all, because how many spectators want to stand in and referee a game? Not many. So if we don't have refs, then the games don't happen, the photographers don't come down, the media doesn't talk about it as much. It'll impact the game massively and we'll feel it right the way through.
If you went to look at the extremes, I think you could lose FC Isle of Man, because let's be honest, if games aren't going ahead in the week, how can Paul Jones pick players? How are the players when they're recovering from injury? How are they going to get back? How are you going to get new players coming in to replace the players that are stepping away? I'm not saying it will. That's the extreme. You can affect FC Isle of Man. You can affect looking at your kids when they're coming through the younger age groups. They're not going to have any referees. They're not going to have any football.
Well, we'll find out. Rob Pritchard is on with Friday Sport at 6 tonight and will be commentating on FC Isle of Man Wythenshawe tomorrow. From Jackie, she says, the irony that most of the bigger works vehicles parked in residential areas and not in specified depots are MUA and bus van in minibuses. Will they find themselves? A few years ago, when the first moves against caravans and campers were made, local authorities were asked to provide dedicated areas for people to park, but they never did. They weren't made to. Time to stop victimising vehicle users and help them. Many use motorhomes to stay on the Isle of Man, spending money moving around the Isle of Man, providing vehicle tax, fuel tax and VAT on food. Lots of visitors to our motorsport events come in motorhomes. They might not bother if they're unwelcome. Thanks to Ben on the phones today. Laurie Hooper, MHK, DHSC Minister on Monday.
W.I.